Cable tray fire insulation test. A study comparing insulating effect of different cable tray materials. HDG steel, PVC, aluminium and FRP. It's important to carefully consider what material should be used in different cable tray installations. In the event of a fire, the material of the cable tray plays a large role determining the severity of the fire and its consequences for personnel and equipment. When it's a question of what material to use for cable tray installations, the most common options are steel, aluminium, PVC and fibre reinforced plastic. Before you decide on any of these material types for your cable tray installation, there are three important factors to consider. First, you should consider whether there will be emission of toxic fumes. These can be even more deadly than an actual fire. Secondly, it's important to consider the thermal conductivity, which is closely linked to the spread of the fire and how severe damage of the cable is. Last but not least, it's important to consider the mechanical strength of the cable tray. At what point does the cable tray's deflection become so severe that it no longer provides safe support to cables? To gain a better understanding of how the different materials behave in a fire, we have put the different materials to the test. For the test, we used 1.5 meter long cable trays with PVC coated cables installed. The cables were exceeding the length of the cable tray by approximately 250 millimeters on both sides and were connected electronically in series. The gas burner was positioned 60 millimeters from the base of the cable tray, and when started the cable was live. The cable and cable trays were then carefully monitored and the time that elapsed for the cable to short circuit was recorded. The structural performance of the cable tray was also carefully monitored and observations made. This test setup allowed us to observe how long it would take before the cable short circuited, while we could also learn more about the structural performance of the cable tray. The purpose of the test was to determine whether the cable can maintain circuit integrity when exposed to extreme fire conditions. For this type of test, we went with the test setup that is based on the IEC 60331-2 test method. The purpose of the test was to compare cable tray material types under the same fire conditions. Now let's see how cable trays of PVC, aluminium, hot dip galvanized steel and fibre reinforced plastic perform when we put them to the test. After half a minute, the PVC cable tray melted and mechanically failed, while the cable supported in the PVC tray short-circuited 80 seconds into the test, whereas the cable in the aluminium tray short-circuited after 84 seconds. In this case, the cable tray melted and eventually split in two, causing an absolute mechanical failure. The melting of the tray also caused heavy dripping. The cable caught fire and continuously burned. The cable tray of hot dip galvanized steel short-circuited after 124 seconds. What sets the HDG tray apart from the previous ones is that the fire didn't cause a mechanical failure. However, the cable caught fire and continuously burned. Eventually, the cable melted and the tray was badly blackened. There was no mechanical failure of the FRP cable tray and it self-extinguished the flames after 50 seconds. The cable in the FRP cable tray short-circuited after 292 seconds. The cable didn't catch fire, and in the end, the cable was only slightly burnt at the edges of the tray. This test clearly shows that FRP is the ideal choice for cable tray material in critical areas, seeing as the cable survived the longest under these test conditions and the tray itself didn't budge. The reason why the cable was so well protected is due to the FRP material's excellent insulation properties. There are several major benefits to choosing FRP material in critical areas of an installation. The material used in Oglen System FRP cable trays has low smoke emission without any toxic halogen fumes. As we observed in the test, the material has self-extinguishing properties that help prevent the spread of flames. The combination of all these properties makes it easier to fight the fire, reduces risks related to smoke, and allows the cable to operate longer than the other material options. Another benefit we saw in the test is that the FRP material didn't melt and drip. Heavy dripping such as we saw with the PVC cable trays is a major hazard to personnel's health and safety. Therefore, we recommend using FRP material in areas of your installation where personnel will pass through in the event of a fire, or where there's essential equipment that needs extra protection from fire and consequently material drippings. To support the FRP cable trays, we recommend using supports of steel. Since steel offers a higher melting temperature than FRP, which will enable it to support the cable tray system for a longer time in the event of a fire.